7:37, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. Happy Friday, March 21st of 2025. Scott Cepicky joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Always appreciate having you on, sir. Scott is the state rep from Tennessee's 64th District and, of course, heavily involved. If you listen to WTN at all, you know he is heavily involved in the state's education. So appreciate you being with us, Scott. Now, President Trump, of course, as everyone knows, finally signing the executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. A lot of folks might simply ask why he's doing this. There's a lot of people that listen to this show that are not as heavily engrossed in the news as I am. So from your perspective, just talk a little bit about why the president decided to do this, and we'll go on from there.
Well, first of all, thanks for allowing me to come on and talk to your listeners. This is a big day, Dan, for Tennessee and for our country in education. We've been waiting for this for over 50 years for this day to come, and it's kind of ironic that it's a beautiful sunny day when now education is now free again from the federal government. We are going to have the opportunity to educate our Tennessee students in the way that we know is best for them so that they can get the education that they need to be successful in life.
So drilling down into our state and our budget, our current state budget for education, I've seen anywhere around $7 billion, but with other funding thrown in, that total expenditure comes closer to $13 billion. I don't know how accurate that is. So from your standpoint, what is our current state budget? That is part one. And number two, when the Department of Education is finally eliminated, will that number go up?
Well, we spend roughly all dollars in about $12.5 billion a year. It is second to healthcare. We spend a little bit more in healthcare in Tennessee, but education is number two in our gross expenditures. I think that what you'll see is the continued investment of the General Assembly and the governor over the last, I believe, 10 years, Dan. We have doubled the investment in education in the state of Tennessee to the tune of almost $4 billion more dollars. And the thing that's got us frustrated is we have struggled to show the improvements, like you referenced, of how we've stagnated in our test scores. And I want to, you know, I'm a Republican, and I don't want to talk bad about Republicans, but that No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top, where we focused on the growth of the student instead of the proficiency of the student, set us back decades. And I think going forward, and this is, I know Congressman Rose has announced, and I'm sure there'll be others to announce, the questions of what Tennesseans should be asking those governor's candidates is, what is your plan specifically if we get control of education again? What is that going to look like in your eyes as we move forward?
So do we know, and we may not know, but do we know specifically, because President Trump, what he wants to do, dismantle the Department of Education, send that funding straight to the states, do we know how much more money we would get? I mean, I don't know if you can break it down per pupil, but from just a strictly monetary standpoint, do we know that yet?
Potentially, it would be roughly about $2 billion more dollars.
Okay. Now, from your vantage point, you talked about Governor Rose, I should say Congressman Rose, Senator Blackburn maybe jumping in as well. But from your vantage point, as somebody who is just really in the thick of our state's education plans, what do you want to hear from either Senator Blackburn or Congressman Rose on their specifics as to how to make our education better for the students of Tennessee?
Well, I think the thing we all want to hear is we have to realize that more is not the answer. Less is the answer. More focus on the basics and fundamentals in early education. Getting the General Assembly, Dan, we just passed, getting cell phones out of the kids' hands. We're working on more recess for our elementary kids. We're working on reduced testing. We're working on more time for our teachers to teach in the classroom and teach the standards that we know they have to learn. A governor has to come in and look at what Governor Lee and the General Assembly has done over the last 6 years and build on that and continue to build by addressing the things that are creating distractions in the classroom, not only for our students, but for our teachers, and getting our parents more engaged with the policies that the voters want to see.
From a curriculum standpoint, you and I have spoken many, many, many times about when you accept money from the federal government, there is oftentimes strings under Biden, DEI, and all of these other things. And at one point, the state even talked about saying no to the federal dollars because we don't want those strings. From a curriculum standpoint, you're the chair of the Education Instruction Committee. How will the dismantling of the Department of Education impact students from that standpoint, or will it?
Well, it'll have some impact. A lot of the little subtleties that the federal government puts in there when they give us the dollars, such as critical race theory or DEI theories, or the teachings that were pushed down that we fought back against, that were racist in nature, bringing identity politics into the classroom. We'll have now the autonomy to say we're not going to go there. What we're going to do, Dan, is we're going to create a standards and a classroom that the teachers are teaching the standards that we say that they need to learn, and be able to test them and let the kids show that they have learned those standards, because it's building blocks, Dan. It's third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, building one on top of the other so that these students can be successful in life. And I think by eliminating the federal Department of Education, now that creates a vehicle for us to be more creative in the classroom and bring back that creativity of our teachers so that they can really push our students to the next level.
Well, one of the things, and I was talking earlier, Scott Cepicky joining us, one of the things that I was talking about earlier was Tennessee's test scores over the national test scores. National test scores have been terrible.
Yes.
Tennessee's have actually been better than the national scores. And so I'm going to pick up the conversation there after I check the roads here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
White House, 65 southbound before Springfield White House. We've got an accident. Watch for stop traffic. Talbot's Corner, 65 southbound before Trinity Lane. There's an accident on the shoulder. And Antioch, Laverne, Couchville Pike, a crash at Old Hickory Boulevard. I'm Christy O'Brien.
As far as your weather for today, a high of 62, mostly sunny. On Saturday, sunny and 68. Sunday, going to be rocky storms, wind, hail, a slight chance of a tornado. Very slight. High of 70. Your complete forecast is coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Scott Cepicky, you've been doing this a long time, involved in the state's education plans for a long time. Why do you think that with the Department of Education, Carter, 1979, scores plummeted after the implementation of the Department of Education? For Tennessee, the last few years, our scores have gone up and we have seen improvement. What's the difference between what we've been doing in the last several years and what the government has been doing nationally?
Well, in Tennessee, Dan, what we've done is we've recognized the failure of the system that we've put in place that our teachers have to adhere to. And so what we've done is we've started to strip this thing down to its core basics. We went back to phonics education on how we all learn to read. We went back to tutoring. We went back to summer school. We got the cell phones, the distractions out of the classrooms. We recognize that we have a problem with childhood obesity. We have a problem with mental health of our youth. And so we're running a bill to get them outside more, get them more athletic, get more recess so they can reset their brains. These are all common sense things that we're doing in Tennessee, Dan. But here's what's really interesting is because our test scores are improving like they are, other states are starting to say, hey, what's going on? And I get phone calls from other legislators around the country saying, hey, can you send me the language on that bill you ran on literacy, or send me your cell phone bill, your recess bill, because we understand that those are the common sense things that we need to do. And by getting rid of the federal Department of Education, it allows 50 incubators of innovation across the country. To those that do it the best will be the most attractive for those young families.
And I'd be willing to bet they're all going to be conservative states. And I know it's early, Scott, but apparently last night the Tennessee Board of Education had a special meeting to talk about how to implement Governor Lee's Education Freedom Act. I know it's early this morning, but have you heard how that went and how they are going to implement that? And overall, how has the Tennessee Board of Education responded to the passing of this legislation?
Well, they've been prepared. I mean, we started this conversation over a year ago. You know that I've been involved in that a year ago. And they've been preparing for this day. They have not been waiting and being reactionary. They've basically been trying to lay out a plan so that we can be effective in this, in the implementation, and be seamless. So we try to eliminate as many bumps in the road. That's the first step with the State Board of Education. They've got to start to put together the framework of how this is all going to work and how everybody's going to interact. And they're going to have to work with the Department of Education, the State Department of Education, on how they can enforce and implement all of the rules. And trust me, it's going to be a very complex thing, but I have total trust in Mr. Eby, the head of the school board or the State Board of Education, that they will have a good plan for Tennessee, and I will bet you that it'll start to get copied around the country.
All right. Lastly, of course, you have a history in professional sports. That folks that don't know, you played with the Bengals, the White Sox, I believe, some others, I'm sure. Governor Lee has submitted an official letter of interest for Nashville to host the 2029 Super Bowl in, of course, the new stadium that's going up. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I wasn't a fan of giving a corporation $500 million, but, you know, I'm one vote. The General Assembly voted to build the new Titan Stadium. I think economically, it's proven that Super Bowls are massive generators of income and revenue. And for our small businesses down in Nashville, I'm sure it'll be a boom for them. It has to be more than just a Super Bowl. We have to keep that facility operating as much as we can to continue to generate the revenue that we need to help to get all that stuff repaid.
Well, let's face it. This is Nashville, and this new stadium has a roof, so we can use it. You know, every month. There's not going to be some downtime in like February because it's too cold outside. So, I mean, personally, I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of subsidies and all that, but ultimately, with the stadium, then you have all of the development around the stadium. Do you think eventually this will be a good moneymaker for the state of Tennessee and the city of Nashville?
I do believe in the long run it probably will. Being the hub of country music, we see what those concerts do for Nissan Stadium, and we see what happens to those concerts when they get rained on. And now with the roof, I think that hopefully that will become a huge music venue for country music and for other artists, that we can make sure that facility is operating at a high level all the time to continue to generate that revenue down on Broadway.
All right. Always great to have you on, State Rep Scott Cepicky. Have a great weekend, and always appreciate the perspective. It is 7:50 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Hey, Joan.
Oh, yeah?
You know what I have coming up next? KGB knows what I'm talking about. Coming up next, I've got I Can Feel Your Anger update.
Can't wait to hear that one.
Super text line is alive and well. And we're going to talk about one particular not such a fan coming up next on Super Talk 99. And I think he's all wet. I think he's full of BS is what this guy's saying, which is why I'm going to make a bigger point about what he has to say coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Right now, though, it's coming up on 8 o'clock. Joan, what's in the news?
Yeah, the legacy media is on fire with this one particular story today about Elon Musk. I'll tell you what it is. It's coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm sorry, the loser media? Is that what you said?
No, I called them legacy.
Loser media. Is that what I'm moving right along.
I'll let you do that.
7:52.